$10 million, 30 years of engineering, composite armor designed to survive anti-tank missiles, and it was destroyed by something that cost less than a used bicycle. This isn't a story about a weak tank. It's a story about how war just changed its price tag. Permanently. For 80 years, the tank was the undisputed king of the battlefield. Armored, mobile, and nearly impossible for infantry to stop. Militaries spent decades and billions perfecting that armor against shells, mines, and missiles. What they didn't design it against was something the size of a house cat, controlled by a soldier with a game controller miles away. The math is brutal, and it's public. A first-person view attack drone, the kind now mass-produced by the millions, can cost as little as a few $100s. Strapped with an explosive charge and flown directly into a vehicle's weakest point, it doesn't need to punch through the thickest armor on the tank. It only needs to find the thinnest. In some sectors of the current conflict in Ukraine, drones like this have been responsible for the vast majority of armored vehicle losses on one side of the fighting. In places, reported as high as 9 out of every 10 vehicles destroyed. And it isn't limited to single drones hunting single targets. In one documented operation in 2026, a swarm of over 100 small FPV drones struck multiple air bases in a single, coordinated strike, damaging strategic bombers worth billions, aircraft that took decades to design, destroyed by machines that took hours to build. This is the shift militaries are scrambling to understand. For the first time in modern history, the weapon costs less than the fuel it takes to move the target it's hunting. Here's the question every armored vehicle designer is now asking. How do you defend a machine built to survive an artillery shell against a threat that weighs less than a house cat and can approach from any direction, including straight down? The uncomfortable answer is, you mostly can't, with the armor alone. Vehicles are being adapted in the field, not the factory. Steel cage structures welded on to detonate a drone's charge before it reaches the hull. Reactive armor blocks bolted over the most exposed sections, and electronic warfare systems designed to jam the radio link between drone and pilot before it ever gets close. None of these are perfect. Each one solves part of the problem and creates a new one. Added weight, added cost, and in the case of jamming, an arms race against drones that no longer even need a radio signal at all, guided instead by a thin fiber optic cable that can't be jammed. It's the same pattern that shaped a century of body armor, every new protection method answering yesterday's threat, while the next one is already being built. Did you know one side in this conflict is estimated to have produced over 4 million drones in a single year? More than 2 million of them the small, first-person view attack type. And did you know some of the newest models trail a hair-thin fiber optic cable behind them for miles, sacrificing range for something more valuable, a connection nothing in the electromagnetic spectrum can jam? Myth: cheap drones have made the tank obsolete. Reality: tanks are still being used, still being upgraded, and still doing jobs no drone can, carrying firepower, breaking through defended lines, protecting infantry at close range. What's obsolete isn't the tank. It's the idea that heavy armor alone is enough to keep it alive. Militaries far beyond this one conflict are now rewriting doctrine because of it. Major armies have begun mandating drone units down to the smallest infantry squad, and domestic production of small attack and reconnaissance drones is scaling into the tens of thousands of units in real time as commanders conclude that a large, expensive program built over years can be obsolete before it's even fielded. The lesson isn't really about drones. It's about how fast a threat can now evolve, and how protection has to be able to evolve just as fast, or it isn't protection at all. That $10 million tank in the opening frame wasn't destroyed because its armor failed. It was destroyed because the war around it changed faster than the armor could. That's the real story behind every number in this episode. Not that cheap technology beat expensive technology, but that speed of adaptation just became more valuable than thickness of steel. And that lesson doesn't stay on one battlefield. It's already reaching every army and everyone watching this. If a machine's armor can't keep up with how fast a threat evolves, what does that mean for the person wearing armor instead of driving it? Next time on Behind the Armor, what a drone-saturated battlefield means for the soldier on the ground and the gear standing between them and it.